We interrupt this program to bring you Skull Island: The Rise of Kong, developed by Iguana Bee, the studio that brought you the critically acclaimed game Monster Bag, the puzzle point-and-click game made for the PlayStation Vita, and Raise, the popular VR dog pet simulator that came out on the Tango? What the f? The game starts you off in the jungles of Tutorial Island, where you play as your mother, Martha Kong. The game does its best to teach you the abilities that you will not have when the game begins, beating baby dinosaurs until you see your husband, Megadong, and obviously your child, King Kong, but for now he's just Baby Kong. Megadong clashes with Ga, this giant raptor dinosaur thing. Megadong gets absolutely obliterated, so it's completely up to you now to save your hubby and child from being brutally eaten alive by these carnivorous Oh, it's a scripted death. Alright, now you're playing the man of the hour, King Kong. Like I said before, you don't have any of those abilities that the tutorial taught you besides running, jumping, and attacking. I swear, they made your legs only half work with how slow your character moves, which immediately makes the game frustrating. And after the first few battles with the enemies, it makes more sense to stumble around and completely ignore them to focus on the objective at hand. The problem with that is there's no objective shown on the screen. Yo, hello, editing guy here. So it appears that you can locate yourself on the map if you roar, which during this time, it seems that I was just speeding through the game, not even reading what the pop-ups were at all, or what they did. There's a roar mechanic. You can find out where you are, and I think it shows where to go next. So, my bad. Hey, my bad. They did something right. Back to the video. Iguana Bee really made it clear that you're a dumb animal by giving you two core elements to the game. If you're not traversing the land of failed claymation experiments, I mean, why is the environment melting everywhere? What is going on? You're just beating the shit out of crabs, worms, and dinosaurs. Make sure to get your trusty stick because it's the most OP weapon in the game. Hopefully during that time though, you don't spy a tree floating out of the ground, get stuck on the jumble of climbing branches, or think you've gone deaf from the lack of sound effects. Every objective that you stumble upon will either be clear the zone or destroy the nests. I really didn't find anything new besides those two. And every time you clear something like this, you receive a skill point. Awesome! Except, you need 5 of these to get the first perk. Of course, to get to the next perk on that tree, you need 10, and then eventually 15 to end the tree. So you get 3 total upgrades per skill tree. And that's it, that's your customization in a nutshell. Someone catch me. There are collectibles in the game which are just skulls with different descriptors, like this is a baby skull. I don't know, it's literally worthless and does generally nothing for the game. If you decide you wanted to give the devs more of a reason to make another shit game, you could buy the Colossal Edition, which adds 8 color filters, 8 color schemes for Kong, a boss rush mode, and behind the scenes content. I don't know why they didn't just give that to the player in the first place, considering the game is only 5 to 6 hours long. This game is nothing more than a greed fest at its finest, and resembles a similar formula to what we saw with the Gollum game. Except this is asking $14 of DLC that genuinely affect the game because it has a game mode and will give you more content, whereas Gollum had $27 of DLC that literally didn't give the game anything besides being able to emote on NPCs. Unlike Redfall and Gollum, I didn't beat this game. I put in 115 minutes into this prehistoric turd fest, and I can't believe it. But we have the worst game of the year in Skull Island: The Rise of Kong. And here's why. Redfall was a bad game, but not the worst piece of media I've ever played. Things at least worked in the sense of customizing sound effects, different classes of characters, voice acting was alright, and music was very okay at best. Story made the game utter shit, but at least you knew your objective, and they tried to form some semblance of a game. Whereas Gollum was worse than Redfall 100%, but I would still play that over Kong because the climbing, parkour, and general mechanics were a step above Kong's. Not only that, but the game lasts twice as long at 10 hours, so they definitely tried to put you through a narrative, as well as different scenes that gave you a sort of freshness to the game. Oh, and their apology was made with ChatGPT, so Gollum is still taking an L here. Lastly, all these games have something in common. These developers shot their way into a genre that they have never made before. Yes, Arcane has made stealth and shooter games, but never an open world based game with that much ambition. Daedalic Entertainment notoriously made point-and-click games, while Iguana B falls into this category with never really perfecting any genre, but love dipping their paws into anything they can think of. But here's a tip: if you're going into a new genre, have a supporting studio help you along the way who has experience in those types of games. It'll be a much smoother time rather than trying to ride a solo gravy train just because you bought the license to a popular IP. And unfortunately, compared to many other things, any PR is good PR does not work in gaming. I hope they reflect on the mistakes that they made, and if people are already saying your title looks worse than Gollum, either rethink the project or get to flipping burgers, buddy, because you're not cut out for this. To be honest, they're all ass, but the fact that Kong has long stretches of running, climbing, platforming, where you don't even know if you're going the right way because your map literally doesn't work, it's a no-brainer. Combat is too simplistic, and there's no wow factor whatsoever. It's like I'm playing a game from the early 2000s with this type of gameplay. I swept the sand with the first worm boss, and played dodgeball with the king of crabs. That's when I knew this was the worst game I had ever played. Jack Black would be disappointed in you, Iguana B.
What are you, an idiot?
Not because you shamed the King Kong franchise with this disastrous make of a game, but because you didn't drown the entire island in piss and start from scratch.